Hey guys, Chairman here, and we're moving on to the next installment of our journey through the Hololive TDs with the Hololive Gamers TD. Let's take a look at what's inside. Here's what the deck looks like, fanned out. Now, once again, our ratios are pretty good. We have 4 copies of the Brainstorm, 4 copies of a level 0 beater, 4 copies of the Climax combo, an assortment of endgame and mid-game cards to play with. We also have 2 copies of the Hololive Gamers event, which is a pretty good event. It's known as the camera event. You look at the top 4 cards of your deck, you can add any Hololive character to your hand. Just really great for selection, also good for milling, so that's definitely one of the stronger points of this deck. Now, the best card in this deck, by far, in my opinion, is this 0-0 Coronate. This 0-0 Coronate is absolutely cracked. It has the ability to prevent your opponents from running. We call that anti-run. So once you put it down, the character across from it can never be moved, even if your opponent's just trying to rearrange their board and they already have a character there. Can't move it. And she just gets permanent 2k power if you have 5 more hand, which is a super easy condition to fulfill, by the way. Just having 5 or more hand, especially early game, is because you're not playing that many characters down, so your hand's always very full. And that means that she's a 3/5 anti-runner, just like with like no downside. So this card's absolutely broken, honestly. Probably one of the best cards, best level 0 cards in the entire set, actually. Other sets would freaking love to have a card like this, so definitely a huge pickup in this TD. It's crazy. We get 2 copies of it. Excellent card. Another card I want to draw attention to is actually the level 3 Mio. So this Mio, her combo is not really that impressive. You have to pay 1 to look at the top 2 cards of your opponent's deck, and you can get rid of any climaxes that you see. She also gets some power until the end of your opponent's turn. What makes this card really special, though, is the fact that her climax also combos with a 2/1. It's a double combo, and I actually think that double combo is very strong for a lot of reasons, which we'll get to later on, but I just wanted to point out this Mio combo is quite good, actually. Really worth experimenting and playing with. Also, the art on the climax is beautiful. Last card I want to point out is this Fubuki, this 3/2 Fubuki. She's not very good at level 3, but she is pretty good at level 2 if you can get it out through the 2/1. And in other decks where you can run standby, you can standby out the 2/1, and then the next turn, at the start of your climax phase, you can change into 3/2, and then you have this giant 3/2 Fubuki wall that has an effect that really can prevent your opponent from getting easy reverses. At the start of your opponent's draw phase, you can choose one of your characters to give 4,000 power, and while 4,000 power isn't really that much at level 3, it's definitely a lot at level 1. So if you can get this out early, she can just make your entire board unkillable. But this is definitely a card to look out for in other builds like standby. In this kind of build, not so much, but definitely standby like this is a very juicy, very crazy combo that you can build around. And it doesn't require a climax, which is huge. And with that being said, let's just get straight into it and improving this deck. Now, the first thing we want to do is we want to immediately bump this Coronate up to 4 copies, because this Coronate is absolutely insane. So we definitely want to see it as much and as often as possible. Just such a crazy good card. As a beater, it's just very difficult for your opponents to remove this card, and it's just going to get a lot of advantage and a lot of value. The second thing we're going to do is we're actually going to bump this 0-0 Okayu up to 4 copies as well. This Okayu is a clock bomb. It helps remove pesky targets at level 0 from your opponent's board, and it also has the ability when you attack, you can mill the top card of your deck. If that card's a level 0, you can just summon it for free. We don't have that many plussing advantage options in the Gamers lineup at level 0, so this is definitely our best bet to get a little bit of extra mill, but also potentially some plussing at level 0. Otherwise, we're looking to plus mostly at level 1 or later. Now the the TD Brainstorm Mio is not bad. It buffs the 1-0 Coronate and the 3/2 Fubuki, but honestly, those aren't the focal points of our deck, and we'd rather play a better Brainstorm, so we're going to be playing 3 copies of the Okayu Brainstorm. The Okayu Brainstorm is a check 3, tap self check 3 Brainstorm, so if you hit a climax, for every climax you hit, look at the top 3 cards of your deck, you can add anything you see there, including events and climaxes, which is wonderful. So not perfect selection like searching or salvaging, but it's a pretty fair, decent amount of selection. Also, every time you play an event, on either player's turn, we don't have any counter events in this deck, so we don't have to worry about our opponent's turn, but every time you play an event, you can give a character 1,000 power. So that's definitely very useful in our deck because we are running the Hololive event, and it's a very good event to play. Moving on, we are going to increase our back row options by playing 3 copies of this 0-0 Mio. This Mio is very special. She is a global 500 on your turn, and then anytime you play another Hololive character, you can look at the top card of your deck, just including herself. So anytime you play a Hololive character, including herself, you can look at the top card of your deck. Just gives you some information about what's on top of your deck. You can use that information to help make your decisions. And her last effect is whenever you play a climax, which we're going to do pretty often in this deck with gold bar climaxes, you can pay 1 to salvage the 1-0 event. And the 1-0 event, as we have talked about before, is really strong event. So definitely a solid way for us to get advantage, especially since we don't have any other ways at level 0 to get advantage. Solid card to have. I'm going to be removing these level 0s and going down to 16 level 0s, which is a little lower than I would want normally in a deck, but the quality of level 0s in the gamers lineup is not that great, so we're just going to be using these and getting by. At level 1, we can keep the Corone combo from the TD because that's fine, and we're going to replace the vanillas because vanillas are not that good with 2 copies of this 1-0 Corone. This 1-0 Corone is pretty cool. On your turn, she gets 3k power, so she'll be a 6/5 attacker, and when she's played from hand, you can discard an event to salvage. So she can turn basically our 1-0 events into free salvages. So if we want to go through our deck and mill, we can just play the event, or if we want to get a card from our waiting room, we can play the Corone, disc the event, and get more cards from our waiting room. With that being said, we are going to take out some of our other level 1 cards and max out on 4 copies of the 1-0 event. The 1-0 event's very good. Definitely want to see it at 4 copies, especially since we're running this Mio. It's going to be a secondary advantage engine. We don't even need a climax combo, and we can just use the Mio and the event to just kind of accrue a lot of incremental advantage. At level 2, we are going to completely get rid of the Okayu beaters because we have something better, and that is the 2-1 Mio that climax combos with the gold bar. So this is what I'm talking about for the double combo. This 2-1 Mio combos with the same climax as this 3-2 Mio, which is this gold bar here. She gets 1000 for every other Hololive permanently, so if you have a full board, she's 10k, which is a very solid number. And when you play this gold bar climax, if she's in the front row, you can stock 1 card from the top of your deck, so it's a blind stock, and choose a 3-2 Mio in your waiting room added to hand. So not only does the combo make her pay for herself, so she's basically a 2-0, but it also helps you get the copies of 3-2 Mio for your end game. And honestly, what makes this combo really special to me is that you can do this at level 3 and it's a good idea. So like usually level 2 combos are pretty bad because you don't want to play them at level 3. At level 3 you want to be playing level 3 combos. However, because it's a double combo between this Mio and the finisher Mio, at level 3 what you can do is you can play as many finisher Mios as you can. And in the lanes that you don't have a finisher Mio, you can play 2-1 Mio. And since it's comboing on the same climax, you can use your Mio to get rid of your opponent's climaxes, and then use this Mio to get the stock back and get more Mios, so that next turn you can play the Mios and then heal, because this is a healer, so it's recycling healers, very good. And you can play the climax again, get more Mios, get more stock, and it also forces your opponent to try to kill this Mio as soon as possible, because every turn that this Mio is alive, you're getting more stock, you're getting access to your end game, and you know, she's just, if you can keep her on the board for the rest of the game, she's really good on the board. So it's not like other level 2 combos where once you hit level 3, you kind of want to play over them. For the Mio, you actually just want to keep her because she's on the same climax that you're going to be playing at level 3 anyway. So honestly, I think this package is very strong. Maybe a little bit overlooked currently. Everybody's testing other decks, but I'm definitely coming in. I want to play this combo. I think this combo is really good. So that's my thoughts. Now at level 2, we're also going to be playing 1 copy of the 2-1 Okayu back row. So it's just generic level support, but also has 2 startup effects. She can tap herself and discard the event to either search or salvage any Hololive character, which is really good because definitely this we don't have access to searching and salvaging that well in this deck. So once we put the Corone out, anytime we get the event through the Mio or anything else, we can use that to search or salvage. So definitely a one of. Our back row is usually going to just be Mio Brainstorm for most of the game, and we can play this if we need the power, and it kind of helps us. Also, multiple copies of Mio is good because eventually when we replace her in the back row, we can kind of play extra copies in the front row when we're playing a climax to additionally gain the events back. So very good. We're also going to drop our Fubuki count to 1. Again, the Fubuki is not really a focal point of this deck. We're not really trying to abuse it too much, although it is good to have. Let's say we have a Fubuki and 2 Mios, then one of our Mios we can pump to 14k, and you know, it's very huge. So I think a 1-2 split of the Fubuki is actually pretty good. The Fubuki doesn't have an on-play effect, so we're not really trying to maximize copies of it. We're really only trying to get her out using the change at level 2, and at level 3, we're not really trying to prioritize it. Okay, and additionally, at level 2, what we're going to be playing, oh, I should move this over here. Additionally, at level 2, we are going to be playing 3 copies of the Fubuki Early Play Heal. She's back from the Gen 1 TD deck profile, and she's really good. We're not maxing 4 copies because we have a lot of other stuff we're trying to do at level 2, so she's not our only game plan, but she's definitely solid, just an extra healer. We do want to see her. It's pretty easy for us to meet her condition, especially with the events, so definitely not a bad card at all. Moving on to level 3, we are definitely going to be maxing out copies of the 3-2 Mio, as this is our primary game plan, and also a very strong target for our 2-1 Mio. So, you know, that's really good. And finally, we are going to be playing 1 copy of the 3-2 Korone. Now, this 3-2 Korone is very special. It actually double combos with the 1-0 Korone combo, this choice. On play, you can pay 1 to salvage an event from your waiting room, so we're probably using that to grab the 1-0 event if we need it. And her climax combo with this choice is on attack, you can burn 2, so you don't have to pay any cost. It's a free burn 2, which is insane. But the downside is after you burn 2, you have to shuffle a climax card from your opponent's waiting room back into their deck. So basically you do some extra damage for free, which is really, really strong, but then you give your opponent a potential cancel again. And that's the reason why we only run her at 1. She doesn't have a very good on-play effect, so we don't really need to see multiple copies of her. And when we use her effect, we only want to ever do it once, attacking last. So we use her effect, we attack last, and then we shuffle the 1 climax back, so it's not too detrimental. We only give them an extra potential cancel on the last attack. If we were to field multiple Korones, then the earlier climaxes shuffled back could potentially make our later attacks worse, which is why she's not that great, I think. Definitely 1, if you're running the Korone climax, definitely 1 is really good. And it kind of, multiple copies, it's diminishing returns, which is why I think 1 is probably the best. You could potentially just play 3. I mean, it is a costless combo, so, and burn 2 is really, really good. So it's not like it's that bad, but like, it's definitely diminishing returns after the first one. So my theory is that 1 is the best number. Now, there is actually another way to build this deck, and that is to remove the Korone combo and play Fubuki combo. Now, the reason why Fubuki combo is better is because Fubuki combo, even though it's on reverse, it gives you the selection from your waiting room that you really, really want in a deck like this. And the climax is a gold bar, which is excellent for our Mio, because we want to play a lot of climaxes and use those climaxes to get the event back to our hand as much as possible, kind of loop that. Now, you might think it's kind of rude that we're taking the Korone out, but honestly, if you're really making like the ideal Gen gamers deck, you'd be running Okayus. So it's like Korone is not going to be in the final list anyways, and definitely Fubuki is a gamer, so if you're doing that though, I would recommend taking out these Korones for this Fubuki to turn your gold bar triggers into salvage ditch climax salvages, and I would recommend taking out this 2-1 Korone for this 2-1 Okayu, which is also level support, and whenever you trigger a climax, you can discard a climax to salvage a character, just making it better for your deck in terms of dealing with the surplus gold bar climaxes. You can also consider upping this Mio, which dishes a climax to salvage. And the last thing is, you don't play this 3-2 Korone, obviously, because you don't have the combo. And this can just be another copy of the Fubuki, another copy of the early play healer, another copy of the 2-1 Fubuki, another copy of this, an extra 0. So it kind of gives you extra flexibility. And this deck is a lot more aggressive because you're playing 8 gold bars, so you're definitely trying to slam gold bar every single turn and kind of power through your opponents. But yeah, I think this is also definitely a very strong build. I would probably build this. I would prefer this over the Korone build. Again, not to slight Korone, but the top check combo is just not very good. I would definitely rather have the guaranteed salvage from the Fubuki effect. So whether you decide to go Fubuki or Korone combo, it's up to you. I think both are fine. I would recommend Fubuki. And that's it for this deck profile. If you like what you see, please like and subscribe, and we're going to go through the rest of the Hololive decks later. See you guys next time.